This is a quick video to show you how to use the features that you'll need to do assignment number 26, color coding periodic table. So you'll notice it's over here under the calendar. I'm going to click on the assignment, and you'll see that the directions are right here. You're going to make a copy of the periodic table assignment by either clicking on the link here or the picture. And then go ahead and save that to your chemistry folder so that it's accessible to you in the future. Then you're going to follow the directions on the first two slides to fill in and color code the periodic table, and then submit it when you're done. And then you're going to use this color-coded periodic table to do assignment number 27, which is called Getting to Know the Periodic Table worksheet. So once you open the link, it'll ask you to make a copy of the document. And this is what the document looks like. It's a presentation that includes 3 slides. You'll want to leave it in edit mode. The directions are on the first 2 slides with the green background. And then the periodic table that you're actually working on is going to be on that 3rd slide. The first thing I would recommend is that you go up here to Zoom and click on that pull down and change it to 100%. And then let's go back to the directions. The first thing it asks you to do is to number the groups 1 through 18. All right, so if we come back to the periodic table, the groups 1 through 18 are going to replace these hashtags at the top of the screen. If I click on that first one, it clicks in a table box, and you can either highlight it and type over it. I'll tab over to the next box, or you can just backspace or delete to replace it with the next number. So then tab, backspace, 3. Okay, so you can finish that on your own. All right, the next thing it tells you to do, number 2, is to number the periods 1 through 7. Okay, that works similarly. You're going to click on or near that first hashtag on the left-hand column, and I'm going to backspace and put in a 1. And then instead of using tab, I'm going to use the down arrow. So I'm going to click on the down arrow, then I can backspace, replace it, down arrow, backspace, replace it. Okay. Next, it says copy and paste the lines onto the periodic table to illustrate the separation between metals and nonmetals. So the lines that you're going to copy and paste are right here. And I'm going to start with the vertical line. I'll click on it, select it, and then I'm going to use Control C to copy it. All right, then when I go over to the 3rd slide again, Control V, paste it, and then I'm going to use the arrow key just to quickly move it over to where I'd like to start it. Yesterday I mentioned that the line that separates the metals from the nonmetals is a stepped line, and I'm going to show you where the steps start, and then you can finish it. Okay, so I moved it over with the arrow keys, but it's not exactly where I'd like it to go. I want it to be on that line next to boron, so it's still selected. I'm going to press Shift and then use the down arrow, and it'll move just really small increments. And what I want to do is to line up those blue dots so that they are right in line. So the middle of the blue dot is right in line with that line. All right, and I'd also like to move it to the right just a little bit. Okay, now it should be lined up pretty well. When I deselect it, you can see it's right there on the line next to boron. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is go back and get a horizontal line. So I'll click on it to select it, Control C to paste, copy it, and then on my third slide again, Control V to paste it. And you can see it's kind of at a random spot. I will tab over until it's pretty much where I want it. And then I'll use Shift and the arrow key. Or I'm sorry, I wasn't using the tab key. I was using the arrow key to move it quickly. And now for these small intervals, I'm using Shift plus the arrow keys to get it exactly where I want it. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I want to continue this step line. So I started it next to boron. So I'm going to make another step by silicone and another step by arsenic and another one by tellurium all the way down. You can do this by separately copying, Control C, and then V, Control V is to paste. Okay, and note, you may have noticed when I do it this way, Control C, Control V, if I hit the down arrow 4 times and the right arrow 4 times, it ends up exactly where I want it. If you'd like to do it a little bit faster, you can click on the vertical line and then hold the Shift key down while you click on the horizontal line. And now it temporarily groups those two together. And now while they're selected, you can do Control C and Control V and just use the arrow keys to move them over to where you want. Sometimes as you get going here, you have to adjust it just a little bit with your Shift and arrow keys to get it right where you want it. Okay. It's usually easier if you copy and paste the one you just placed. Now I can just click 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's right where I want it. Okay. All right, so then you would continue that all the way down. Next, it would like you to type the name of each of the following groups above the group number. So you can use your notes, but probably a better reference, since the notes are just generalized and there's always an exception or two from those generalizations. Go ahead and click down here in the right-hand corner, and it allows you to go to a periodic table. This is an online periodic table, and this is a great reference. So there are a couple of features here that I'd like to show you. First of all, the periodic table is color-coded, and the key for the colors are right here. This is the key. So we've got the metals on the left, the nonmetals on the right, and the metalloids in between. And when you hover over each one of these categories, it highlights it for you so you can see exactly what's included. So the alkali metals are the first group that it asked me to type, and they are group 1. So that's my reference point. You'll notice right now, which we'll address later again, hydrogen is not really part of the alkali metals. It's in a separate group of nonmetals. So let me go back to my periodic table. And again, alkali metals is what I want to type in. Click on group name until the whole thing's highlighted. And then I'll just type in alkali. I think I spelled it right. Metals. There we go. Okay, the next group over is the alkaline earth metals. So what I would just double click on this and type that in. And then the next group collectively are called the transition metals, and this is groups 3 through 12. So let me show you where that is. The section name is right here, and I click on it, and I will type in transition metals. Okay. Now, if I go back, they give specific names to groups 13, 14, 15, and 16. I didn't do that in your notes yesterday, but go ahead and put these group names in. And then the halogens and the noble gases. Now, in addition to that, you also need to type in the names of the two rows underneath the chart, and those are the lanthanides and actinides. So those are right here. So this would be lanthanides, and then you'll type in actinides right here. All right, that takes care of this first page. Now let's go to the second one. Here's where you're going to do a little bit of color coding. It asks us to color code the symbols or the letters for the gases red. So again, I am going to use my periodic table. Just tab over to it. And you'll notice that there's a key for the solids, liquids, and gases. That's right here. Another good source for this is the periodic table that I gave you, or the one that's in the resource folder on your Schoology page. So we'll notice that the gases on this periodic table are also red. And if we look over here, we've got nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, and then all of the noble gases except for that last one. So if I go back to my periodic table, I can click on the box with nitrogen and then drag it across to fluorine, and that highlights all three boxes. Then I'll come up here to the text color and click on red, and it changes those letters to red. Chlorine is also red, so I'll highlight that. And then this whole column. So I'm going to start by clicking in the helium box, drag it all the way down to radon, and make those red. Okay, so you'll do that for the other groups as well, or for the other groups of physical states. So you've got solids and you've got liquids. Now, this last one, the man-made or synthetic elements, the periodic table that I gave to you is a good reference for that. But this will also tell you that it's the atomic numbers that are greater than 92. So if I go back to my periodic table, and let's see here in this last period, starting with lawrencium, these are all bigger than 92. So I'll highlight those and make that text color. I like the darker green, it shows up a little bit better. And then if I scroll down just a little bit, 92 is uranium, so it says anything greater than 92. So I'll start with neptunium and highlight the rest of this row, and those are green as well. And then there's one more that should be green, and that's technetium, which is number 43. And again, you would find that in the textbook or on the periodic table that I gave you. Okay, the last thing I need to do is to show you how to highlight the boxes. So it wants you to highlight the alkali metal group red. So let's go to the alkali metal group, and I'm just going to check the periodic table. And notice that the alkali metal group does not include hydrogen. So I'm going to highlight everything under hydrogen down to the bottom and go over here to my paint can and fill that with red. Okay. So you'll probably want to flip back and forth just to make sure that you're getting the correct elements in each one of these groups. Now the transition and what they're calling the post-transition metals, we lump into one group called the transition metals. So those will actually be the same color on your periodic table. All right, so then once you're done, submit it and go ahead and answer the questions in assignment number 27.